Okay, I think we're live. If you're watching this, just forward through probably about 60 seconds. I just want to check we are live. Yes, we're live. Okay, hey guys. Welcome back. So again, new channel. Nobody's probably watching at the moment. But if you are watching this and you watched before, welcome back. If it was your first time, good to have you here. So I started this channel. I was a bit bored over Christmas, and surprisingly, some people are watching and some people asked some questions. So today we got a review of the yacht you can see on the screen, which is somebody mentioned in one of the comments, which is a boat I've been watching for about 6 years now. I think it came on the market, well, it was built in 2014, so I guess it came on the market about that time. Maybe I saw it in 2015. And it's a really interesting yacht. So from what I know about it, it's turnkey, new almost. I mean, 6 years old now, but I am led to believe it's never been sold. So I spoke to a broker in Holland about a year ago who knows the history of the yacht, knows the broker of the yacht, and it hasn't been sold. And this see massive price drop. Now I'm going on my memory, but I think when it came on the market, the price of this yacht was maybe about 4 million euros. And now you can pick it up for just under 2 million euros. I think that's excluding VAT. So in if it's a Dutch yacht, you got to add 20% to that. Swiss yacht, 7%. If it's a Cayman Island yacht, probably nothing. So I want to review the yacht for a number of reasons. So I like this yacht technically, in terms of it's capable, its design. There's a lot of things really good about it. But for me personally, I find it a little bit soulless. And I'll explain that in a minute what I mean, because I think, you need to, when you pick a yacht, you've got to fall in love with the yacht, but then you've also rationally got to go through it and decide if it's a yacht for you. It's a good yacht, it's maintained well, it's got all the functionality equipment you need, and I think this yacht really does really well on that, but maybe is a little bit on the soulless side. But don't be concerned, because if you can pick it up for this price point, you potentially, there's a lot you can do, because there's a lot of space, the layout's pretty good, and I think you could make this a very special yacht with a little bit of money and a little bit of vision. So let's go through the yacht and let's start. Right. So yeah, I'd just like to explain my view on how I review yachts. So for me, I need to fall in love with the boat. So every boat I've bought, I have loved it from first sight. And what I learned, because my first boat, I didn't do the second bit. I didn't know anything about boats. I had no advice, and I didn't check it, didn't know what I was buying. And to be honest, I love the boat, but it was in terrible condition, and I would probably not have bought that boat again, especially not at that price point. I got completely ripped off. But that said, you live and learn. It wasn't an overly expensive boat, but the way I go about it, and you guys will do it your way, I think you got to love a boat and really have that connection to the boat. But then you also, you've got to have the rationale to work through it and really love it because you love it. That's it. That's chemistry. And check it against your needs. What do you want to do with the boat? What's your budget? How much time you got? How many crew have you got? You need to understand your own needs to make sure it's a capable boat. And we'll explain that. I won't bore you too much with that philosophy. So a bit of an overview here. So this was Aluship. They're a Polish builder, and I've heard good things about Polish yards. Apparently quite good work, relatively cheap. I don't have direct experience. That's hearsay. Maybe some of that gloss will come off after speaking today. But again, for probably not all Aluship's fault. But I think it's quite a good builder in Poland, and the design is Dutch design from Vripack. Very good builder, do everything from small yachts, do the Dogger's Bank model, which is a very popular model in Holland, to everything to the super luxury yachts. And there was a a TV show you can find on YouTube, I think, called Super Yachts, and Vripack appear a couple of times in there. So it's that's really good show, worth watching. Now I've screwed up. First of all, I didn't update this correctly. So it's a twin engine yacht, about 24 meters, 23.9, built in 2014, 42 tons. The range, I don't know. I don't have full information of the yacht. So I've seen on one website 3,800 nautical miles. See another website 6,000 nautical miles. So I don't know. And you'll see this is going to be the big question I've got about this yacht, because I've looked up the engine rating, the consumptions and things, and to go 6,000 nautical miles, it's just a ridiculous amount of fuel. So if I get that wrong, forgive me. I think it's wrong just from the calculations, and I'll show you why as we go through. But probably 3,800 nautical miles would, 3 to 4,000 nautical miles, I'm guessing, is probably at least the range. If it does go 6,000 nautical miles, that's great. Twin engines, yeah, it just depends on fuel capacity. Purchase price 1.975 excluding VAT, and that's about $2.4 million. So this is a yacht. So the first step is just to get a feel of the layout of the yacht. So it's I always forget the name. You got the pilot house at the top, large rear deck, which is quite nice, and then you got your salon, kitchen area here, and you can see the cabin, the superstructure is towards the aft of the yacht, which is good for motion. So like I always say, if you were steering from the very front of the yacht, you'd be going up and down meters in rough sea. You don't want that. Your steering needs to be in the center of the pitch, so you rotate around a point as opposed on the extremities. That's why they always put it at the back. Well, not always, but these ones do, especially ocean going. That's what you want. You've got 3 levels there. So you've got the main deck, and you've got quite large gangways down both sides. So you've got access all around the boat. You've got the steering level with pilot house, and then you actually got a staircase up to the top. Looks like you can't steer there, but for lookout, access your mast, etc., you've got easy access through the ladder there. And forward, you've got crew quarters forward. As you'll see, there's a surprise. This is a one dinghy, another surprise where the second dinghy is. And you've got crew quarters forward, and so you've got your entrance there too. And I need to learn the proper nautical term for that. Hatch, so mast with a crane to get things on and off. It looks pretty heavy duty crane there, so you shouldn't have any problems. Like I say, you got a massive amount of foredeck space there, so you could really load it up. If you've got kayaks, maybe other dinghies, who knows what you can put there, but you got a massive amount of space. It's 24 meters. It's really a good sized boat, and it looks like you probably could sail it short-handed. 2 people could handle it pretty comfortably, I'm pretty sure. Probably be too much space for 2 people, but you'd be nice. And the first impressions for me is it's a nicely designed boat, but there's nothing exciting about it. It doesn't get my heart racing. It looks a little bit dull. It's shiny and new, but it looks a bit dull. The recreation areas just look a bit bland. And I think we get the interior. This is, the same thing. It's a nice cockpit here, the layout, everything, modern equipment, good controls, full electronic controls. These seats are great. I like the seats with the headrest, high back, footstool, and you've got the slides in the tracks in the floor, so you move it back and forth, which is good. Better than having a fixed position. So really high quality chairs. And then navigation table, it's good, all facing forward, and a pilot seat here so people can socialize. But again, looking at this interior, it's nothing fantastic. It's just good enough. It's clean, it's nice. I don't like the floor. Again, it looks like a house floor rather than a yacht floor. I like my nautical touch. But depending on your taste, that's a very personal thing. But very, very nice, modern, usable, helm, absolutely. And so this is a bit of a surprise here. You've got this rear, what do you call it, ducktail deck, which folds down. Got another dinghy in there, little shower, wash off, etc. So this can be nice for bathing or relaxing, getting on and off the boat, potentially tie your dinghy on there, so easier to get in from there than these very high sides. The downside of this is, and this again preference, other people don't like it, is I believe in simplicity, and I try to do in terms of looking at risk management is to not have any breaks in the hull, things that can go wrong. So the last thing you want is not to be able to shut this. You're probably not going to sink. From what I can tell from the plans, this does not go through the main part of the hull. You probably be on a funny angle or something, you know, that'll be filled with water, but you're not going to sink. If that did get, you know, open, for a new boat, should be okay, but you know, things deteriorate over time at sea, so you need to make sure it's well maintained. And you know, even if it's not dangerous, could be one of those annoying things, it just doesn't shut properly for whatever reason. Something gets jammed, you bend something, you know, who knows, right? There's just, if it moves, it can break. I'm not saying it's going to, but look, these are the trade-offs that people need to make personally. If it was me, I would prefer not to have this rear garage and fold it down. I'd rather things on the whole one in contact, minimal through hole sections, or you know, holes in the hull. Then you know, really nothing can go wrong. There's no weak fault points. You've just got like a steel bucket basically. But still, if you like that, that's nice. This is the other surprise too. They've actually got a garage on board, so you can see on the right hand side, Land Rover seems to fit in there. Can't tell if that's a short or a long wheelbase, so this must be about 6 meters wide. We'll check that, but if it's 6 meters, that'll comfortably fit a Land Rover, I'm pretty sure. A Dodge Ram pickup is about 6 meters, shall we say. This will be a bit less than that, I would imagine, and skinnier too, so it'll fit in. So that's quite nice, especially if you're going around the world, you want transport, you've got your own transport on and off. You don't have to have a Land Rover, get a Mini, get a smart car, get, you know, something else smaller, can work. But you've also got the option there for another layout. So it's probably not so clear on this. I'll see if I zoom in a bit so you guys can see it a bit better. So you got crew cabin forward here. So it looks like you got a couple of bunks here, a sofa, kitchen, shower for the crew. What they're proposing here is that you can put in another double cabin, another single cabin, and then this is the existing layout. You've got your main cabin in the center of the boat, should be nice motion there. Kitchen, shower, hanging space, etc. Maybe a triple cabin there, not 100% sure. Another bathroom, shower here, and probably some storage and the staircase. So, you know, you've got a lot of berths there. So I think you've got 2, maybe 5, at least 8 berths on board, and you can take that up to 11 if you really wanted to, if you turn the garage into something else. So yeah, very interesting design. I haven't seen that before, at least not much. So this is the boat, the whole design. So you can't, there's no waterline marked, but you can, if you take it from basically below the ducktail, shall we say, running along there. You know, relatively shallow. You've got obviously a lot more boat out of the water than in the water. Active stabilization, and with these fixed stabilizers, it looks like the boat might actually dry out on you know, at low tide. So this is one, you know, like say in the north of Holland where you get these tides and sandbanks, a nice day out, and you can actually, well, if you can travel again, you can go on these boat trips where they take you out on the old sailing barges. The tide goes out, the boat sits on the sand, and then you go out and you pick up, I think it's mussels or oysters or something. So, you know, if you're going around the world and you needed the boat to dry out for whatever reason, or you just wanted to clean the bottom, having the ability for the boat to dry out and stay upright is clearly a very positive thing. So, you know, that's something nice about the design that I quite like. So from this you can see you got a staircase here. Now this actually indents in the hull, so this is not external staircase, this is actually built into the hull. We'll see if we see it a bit closer. So, you know, I don't know how high this is, it's got to be 1.5 meters maybe. You can see it, and then you've got the entrance to the garage which folds down, you know, your hatch here. portholes, etc., which we'll get into a bit later. I think you got anchors on both sides. There you go, that's more or less it. And yeah, probably the covered rear deck is another one to look at. So, you know, when you look at the, I say it's a bit soulless. I think it's really the way the interior has been done is part of it. And I think if you've got a good designer, you know, I like my Explorer yachts to look kind of dangerous, kind of piratey, kind of, you know, it just looks cool. And they haven't quite nailed that yet. So, you know, with a bit of design help, and it would just be design, pure ego, you could make this a really cool looking yacht. It's got a huge potential. And look, this Vripack design is very popular. This is 24 meters. I'm pretty sure I've seen these in something like 18 and 21 meters, but you know, similar layout, different sizes. There was a good one around 20 meters, can't remember exactly, sale recently for about 800,000, which would have been a great boat. And look at it and go, well, why is it in that price point? I didn't fully understand it, didn't know the boat. But, you know, these are around this design. So, you know, with the Vripack name, you can't really go wrong. Great designers. So what we'll do now, we'll just look at some other photos on the website. Right, so we're here on Van der Vliet. Recommend them if you want to look at some great yachts. If you want to buy a yacht, yachts.nl. I'm not sponsored, don't have any relationship with them, but I've been looking at their site for years now. Good guys, and they specialize in Dutch yachts, generally 20 meters above, sailing and motor yachts, and they sell quality, you know, very high quality, well maintained yachts. So they've been the main broker as long as I can remember. And we'll just go through some of the shots here. Actually, what I might do, I'm going to just change to a different website because unfortunately on the Van der Vliet website you can't turn off the auto scroll, and then if I want to make it bigger, it doesn't happen. And it looks like maybe this one I can't turn it off either, but well, let's see. Okay, so what can we pick out just by looking at it? A lot we've covered already. So Portuguese bridge. So again, look, access around the boat is excellent. So around the pilot house, you can get all the way around with the rear deck. On the main deck, you've got access on both gangways, both sides, a smaller rear deck with a nice cover, staircase up to the rear, and obviously internal staircase, so good access. You've got your lifeboats here on either side, a couple of receptions, maybe internet, maybe satellite phone, not really sure. A couple of radars, TV antenna, could be, all the rest. Your life buoys, you can see room for actually pretty sizable skiff there. So again, not sure the width, we'll check that, but it's got to be like at least 6, probably 7, maybe even 7 or 8. And again, yeah, the access to the foredeck is just, you know, brilliant. So nice scuppers. You got, you know, the water should just run straight off. You got a lot of space there. They're not too shallow, nice and long. So you're not going to be carrying water on deck for very long if you do get any water on there. I mean, it's out of the water quite a bit, so you need some rough seas for that to be going over. So this boat just says, look, it's a nice Explorer design, lots of space, very shippy design, and yeah, like I said, lots of potential to get something that's not too old at a pretty good price and make it your own. So closer shot, this one we've already seen. We'll just move on. Anything interesting here? Oh yeah, okay, so there you can see the steps going up. So I can't see them close. I'm not sure if there's actually like a handhold, like a bar inside where you can pull yourself up. Now obviously the problem with a boat with this sort of, you know, height from the water is if you do go over, it can be difficult to drag someone back into the boat, or if you're in the water yourself to get back on the boat yourself. So we'll see on the back, I'm pretty sure there's not a ladder on the back. So it's just something to consider, one of those safety things. On a boat this size, you shouldn't go overboard, but you know, when you look at your risk management, you really need to think about those things. So I'd be interested to know if it's actually possible, if you're in the water, you can use that to drag yourself on board. But yeah, that's quite a nice touch. Again, it's a small thing, but it's quite a nice touch. Look, paint job, I don't know how old these photos are. I think they're probably 6 years old. But nice paint job, looks like it's sprayed rather than hand painted, which you'd expect on a boat of this quality. And then, you know, downstairs you got some nice windows inside, you know, all around, so you should get some good light in there. From above, that's how she looks. Fine. This is the rear deck upstairs. Again, lots of space. I'm not quite sure how you would use it. So, you know, for a motor going boat, ocean going boat, you don't want garden furniture out there that's going to blow overboard or move around. But it's a space you do want to use if you've got a nice day. So look, maybe you got some portable furniture, or you could look at getting something fixed on there if you needed to. You potentially could also use it for dinghy space as well. I mean, you've got enough space already. Don't know if you need more dinghies, but if you wanted to, why not? We've seen that photo. So this is a boat coming out. It's on a mechanical lift. Everything, I guess, hydraulic to get that hatch open. Yep. Okay, this is the interior. Now, I'm assuming these are real photos. It's just when you look out the window, this looks a bit photoshopped. So I don't know if that is actually the real photo, looks photoshopped or not, but the interior looks real enough. It doesn't look like a computer mock-up. So again, you know, the layout's okay. Desk, fine. L-shaped sofa is quite big. Coffee table, and you got all this cupboard storage here. And it's quite, I mean, it's very deep here. So I'm not understand why they've taken up all that space and why you actually need, you know, cupboards that deep there. You could potentially make it a bit wider. I think there could be a toilet in there, not 100% sure. And again, look, for me, a handrail, which is nice. Ceiling, some sort of padded ceiling. I think you've got a good base there. The woodwork's not, you know, it's very simple woodwork. It's not ornate. You could say very modern, straight cut wood. So to me, my mind is a little bit dull, and the colours are not exciting. You know, again, it's a bit of a vanilla feel, institutional feel. And I think, you know, you've got the basics there with a little bit of design help. You could probably make this a much nicer space. And of course, it's, you know, woodwork on boat is never cheap. But if you're not changing the woodwork, just furnishings or carpets or decoration, you know, you could potentially make this a lot nicer place to be in. So go and look from the other angle to the back. Okay, so that doesn't look as deep as it did before. Plenty of storage. Maybe there's a TV that goes in there, but you know, fine. It's looks like a more or less a comfortable place to hang out in. There's your main cabin downstairs. It's a big bed. Walk around both sides. Hanging space. Again, one of my little pet things I like. Drawers, cupboards, storage. So you know you need to live like you would live at home and have those comforts. So it's pretty nice. Looks like they've got some storage under the bed as well. Now, also interesting on all boats too is get the mattress off, see what's really under there. What are you looking at? I'm assuming it's insulated, but you want to check that. Just see if there's any mechanisms under the bed. Just check all that. Not, you know, this is a problem. It's just a part of knowing your boat, knowing every nook and cranny. Shower in there. Okay, this is your toilet, shower, pretty spacious. On a boat this size, you expect it to be just like you would have at home. Double cabin. Again, not too bad. I mean, it's tight fit, and that almost looks like a double and a single. But it's your guest cabin, so who cares about your guests? I guess that's the message. Second shower, again, good size showers. You know, definitely workable. Kitchen. You know, maybe this is one of the criticisms about the boat is if you are sailing shorthanded, the kitchen. If you're in the kitchen, you're there by yourself. It seems so you don't really have communication to other parts of the boat. So, for example, if you look at the Nordhavens, they design them to be basically shorthanded, and you see a lot of things on the internet with couples which sail them. So they do try to keep the open plan So, you know, if you're in the kitchen, you're actually part of, you communicate in the living room. This is the helm, which we've seen. Quite nice. Not sure what this is. Maybe crew quarters, engine room. Now, this looks like a big engine room. Looks like I could stand up there. So I'm about 188, 190, 6'2", something like that. Big engine. So we're looking forward here. So you got your shafts coming towards us on the photo. Yeah, engine protection, which you want. Good insulation. Oh, excuse me. Maybe even a sink there. All your different pumps, generators, maybe fuel. I would have to get into that. I can't really get a good look from here. And the layout, right, so there's nothing to it. We've seen the one on the top, on below, nothing really special there. You've got the pilot house there. You might have maybe you've got a toilet there or a little hand sink. Hopefully a toilet. That'll be nice if you're doing long trips. The Portuguese bridge. So we've seen all that. The interior, so the garage forward. We've got master cabin, 2 singles. Yeah, and the 2 bathrooms. So, you know, for a 24-meter boat, you've got really a lot of space. And yeah, this is the thing too here at the back deck. So you've got your engine room, and then you've got this dinghy locker at the back. So that really does like take up a lot of space. So, you know, if I was my boat, I would probably consider removing that, maybe repurposing that for storage or who knows what, and probably getting the back welded shut. Maybe. That's just me. Put in your comments what you think about that, what you'd do. And yeah, for me, look, I've done trips on boats and sea kayaking and different things, like some quite remote adventurous trips, and so I always go for the lowest denominator on safety. And the basic safety rule is if it's one piece, it's a lot harder to break. So that, like I said, the hinge is probably okay, it's probably well engineered, but look, if it moves it can break, and that's just me, not to harp on that point. Alternative layout, we've seen that, and some yacht focus advertising. So that's the boat. So you probably see the sort of my conclusion where it's going on this is that it's relatively new. The price is not too bad. It's equipped pretty well. It's just like that soulless feeling. So my head is going, well, yeah, it could be a good boat, but my heart is just not connecting to it. So I'd, you know, probably have to see how I can make that more attractive. But fine. But I think, you know, if anybody's looking for a round the worlder, this would definitely do the job. So we come back to our little PowerPoint here, because the world needs PowerPoint. Here's some stats. So if you watched my last video, I did a comparison between 3 boats. I've taken off the Altina trawler. I think that was unanimously voted as the worst boat. I mean, it's not a bad boat, don't get me wrong, but in the grouping, it wasn't the favorite. So I've kept the Van der Molen, the converted trawler, which got a bit of criticism. Well, not criticism, like that's a bit harsh. Saying it was criticism sounds like criticism. Discussion on preference for good reasons. I understand the feedback, and this is where, look, you know, when I'm speaking here, I'm speaking my preference. If I do get anything technically wrong, please do tell me. I still got a lot to learn. So we kept the Van der Molen there. Of course, I like it, and I think it's got some interesting lessons because it's a boat from a different generation. We've got the Nordhaven as well. This is the N60. Oh, I kept confused. N63, N62. It's the older version, anyhow, which was a very popular model. I think it looks great. Very nice boat. I've had the Aluship there too. So, in terms of, you know, what can we pick out of this? So we've got, you know, Aluship's steel hull with aluminium superstructure. The Van der Molen is all steel and this fiberglass yacht. So obviously different construction methods for all of them. The big difference here is the year of construction. So this is a modern boat, 2014. So it's still you could say it's still a current generation boat, even though, you know, technology is moving pretty darn quick nowadays. Van der Molen, this is a, you know, 1965. This is a different generation. And then we got 1997, which is, I don't know what you call generations. I would probably say that last generation boat. Relatively modern, shall we say, you know, it's 20 years old, relatively modern for a boat. So dimensions, the Aluship and the Van der Molen, they're both 24 meters. The Aluship nearly 6.7 meters wide at the widest point, so it's quite a wide boat. And we got 5.8 meters here. And then we got 1.9 meter draft and 2.9 meter draft. So I think for me, probably one of the biggest difference in hull design, seaworthiness, you can see it illustrated between these measurements. So with the same length boat, the Aluship is wider with less depth. Now, the Van der Molen is skinnier with more depth. Now, if you think about seaworthiness, if you go back to some of the classic ships, you know, it's like a, you know, there's a concept called hull stability, right? So if you've got a skinny ship, which is weighted and deep, it's going to have less motion. It's going to be in the still water all the time, and you know, hopefully you're going to be less affected by the rough stuff on the top, and you'll be in contact with the deep still water, and the motion of the boat should be slower because you're getting the resistance from the hull, resisting that turning moment, and the less width. So again, you've got these ideas of primary, secondary stability, and hopefully I can explain this. So, you know, if you've got a large flat board on still water, it's going to be pretty stable. But as soon as that water moves, it's going to be incredibly unstable because it's going to move up and down with the surface of the water. Whereas if you've got like a deep hole, maybe a bit skinnier, well, on these boats, they're still going to be solid anyhow. But when it starts getting rough, because you've got that depth, and also because you do not have that width, you're less affected by the rough stuff on the water. And I think I'd like to do a video just explaining some of these hull stability, motion, you know, how that all works, and this whole concept of seaworthiness at some point, because I think I've really screwed that up. But for me, depth is always a good sign of seaworthiness. So at 2.9 meters, so nearly a meter more depth. And we have a photo later on with the hull of the Van der Molen again. I just get the impression that that is going to be nice, seaworthy, nice motion boat. Now the Aluship, I mean, they're both big boats, right? So displacement really means a lot when you're at sea. So I think if you look at the statistics from the 1976 Fastnet, where, you know, there were a lot of rescues, basically all the boats over 40 foot survived. Same design, but they had more displacement, so they were less affected by movement. They didn't break apart, they didn't feel like they were going to sink, so they survived. So displacement is really going to make up for a lot of sins, which these boats have. But still, you know, that said, if you're investing in this, you plan to spend a lot of time on it, don't take advice from some guy on the internet. Go hire a boat, be a crew, try different boats, get to know the whole design you really like, and the movement that's comfortable. Then you know what you're getting into, because you don't want to be at sea in a boat with uncomfortable movement. And you're going to be, probably with these boats, you're probably going to be okay. They're well designed, all of them, but you know, still there is you know, a big difference. Now the Van der Molen does not have active stabilization, so you have to really rely on the whole design to give you that comfortable motion. Okay. The Aluship, the Nordhaven, both of these do have active stabilization, which is great. It gives you a nice motion, but again, from a safety and a complexity perspective, and the more complexity you introduce, you're introducing more fault points, things that can break, go wrong. So I remember there was a Nordhaven documentary where they crossed the Atlantic. One of the stabilizers broke on one of the boats, and the crew were complaining about the feel of the boat. It was very rough. So, you know, again, this is my preference. I would prefer to get a boat without active stabilization, which has a comfortable sea motion anyhow. So it's just not going to break. It's just the boat is designed to be seaworthy with a nice motion. So, but that's just, like I said, that's me. That's me. So what else can we pick up from this? So again, the Aluship has two engines, whereas the Vandermolen just has one main, and the Nordhaven has a main engine with a wing engine. And this is really important too. So for an Explorer yacht, I'm not sure I would go with the two engines. Because, you know, displacement boat, you're going to be as fast as your bow wave, that's it. So your length determines your speed. You just want like a well-performing single engine, which is just going to keep you at your cruising speed. And you know, the twin engines are great for when you're in harbour, steering, all that sort of stuff. But if you plan to do long distances, you know, you think about the time where you're going to be just cruising, you know, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just with that engine running, heading in one direction. You don't need the two engines at that point. So, you know, I really like the Nordhaven. I mean, Nordhaven's a great company for a lot of reasons, but you know, one of the things about their configuration, they generally, for at least what I've seen, single engines with a wing engine, which is a good thing. So you can always limp home. You know, on a wing engine, it's not as powerful. So, you know, if you've got enough fuel for your main engine, if you've got a wing engine, your fuel should be more than enough to get you home. It's going to take you a bit longer, but that's fine. So, you know, my criticism of this boat is, you know, your operating costs are probably going to be more expensive running the twin engines on this one than the other one, all things considered, possibly. And again, I'd like to do a video on fuel consumption and engine layouts, etc. at some point. We'll see if we get around to it. So my big question here is I don't have fuel numbers for the boat. And the range numbers, I've got two range numbers from different websites. One says 6,000 nautical miles, one says 3,800 nautical miles. And then going through this, I did a quick estimation of fuel consumption of these other boats, and I really think I'm on the low side. I've gone sort of 2.5 litres per nautical mile, 2.2 litres per nautical mile, which is in the realms of possibility. So met an owner of a diesel duck. He had a single engine, and he reckons getting 1 litre per nautical mile. Had a very efficient setup. Actually, that would be a good boat to do a review on, the diesel duck as well. So I'm not sure what this is, and I went to the MAN website and did a calculation, which I think is completely wrong when you look at the fuel figures. But just take that with a grain of salt. I think probably 3,000 to 4,000 nautical miles is in the range of this boat. Yeah, like I said this before, the price history, 2014, it was selling new for about 4 million. It's depreciated quite a lot. So, you know, if this was in your sort of boat you're interested in, was in your price point, it looks like it's been on the market for a while. I don't know who the owner is. I don't know if the shipyard is the owner or it's a private owner, but I just get the impression from seeing it on the website and one broker who knew the boat, the base has been built to sell and is never sold. So it could be by the boatyard potentially. And 2 million, I mean, it's depreciated a lot, but you never know. You know, always negotiate. You know, I always say offer half the asking price and see where you go from there. You never know. Boats are definitely not a fast-moving good. It takes a while to sell them. So, especially being on the market for a while, have a go. Now, if we go then back, we'll just take a quick look at Aluship. So this is them, Polish company. Looks like they do a lot of ship construction. And in fact, it's maybe not just ship construction. It looks like they do a whole bunch of things. Welding, maritime, offshore and civil. Okay, everything. So superstructure. So potentially they're building superstructures which are then shipped to main things. And let's have a look. Shipbuilding. What do they do? Basically, it looks like they do everything. Aluminium, steel, thin plate, superstructure for passenger. So looks like they do a bit of seals, a bit of steel, aluminium. They're called Aluship, so I guess their specialty is aluminium, but that's the builder. They're based in Poland. Looks like a pretty sizable company. And we come back here and try to give me statistics and give me some comments. I'm not sure this is too confusing. On this one, I've actually forgot to take the alternator off, but we'll keep it there. So you can see my questions about the fuel. So I did some rough calculations based on the MAN catalog, the diesel engine catalog, and worked out that, you know, it's maybe 7.5 litres per nautical mile per engine, maybe, but sounds a bit excessive. So I was putting a number of 15 litres per nautical mile. So with 6,000 range, you need 90,000 litres of fuel. So that's a hell of a lot of fuel, right? So I think that number's completely wrong. I don't know if it's the range, I don't know if it's the consumption, it's probably both. But yeah, would that be true? It would be nice to have 6,000 nautical miles, potentially got a 5,000 nautical mile range, which is pretty big. And again, I can't put any guarantees on these figures. They're probably ballpark correct, but you know, a small change in consumption per nautical mile does a big change in your range. So who knows? So again, my 3 routes: Canary to St. John's. That's a cross Atlantic. Should be able to do that, no problems. The Altena can't. Lord Haven, it's a bit borderline. Probably you could squeeze it. So I've done the range on 80% with a 20% fuel reserve. So that may be too much for some. It's pretty conservative. So with a 20% fuel reserve, you should be able to make it across, no problems. The route 2 to get across would be from Lisbon to the Azores, 785 nautical miles. No problem for all these boats. And then, you know, jump across from the Azores to the Bermuda, about another 2,000 nautical miles. All of them can do it. So fine. I mean, this one you can do it in one hop, basically. It's got cross oceanic range. And theoretically, you know, if it's a 6,000 nautical mile from Amsterdam to Rio, I think it's about 5,500 nautical miles, plus or minus. Yeah, you've got that range too. So really, it's really quite a significant range. If that is, just check that out. So this is a new point that I want to build in, and I may be labouring the point here, but about around the hull openings. So design philosophy, and this is something that I like, is that your hull, your Cusco, it is just that. It is your hull, and it is whole as in WHOLE, without any holes, HOLE, in your hull, HULL. And actually, I didn't mean to do that. That just came up then. So you want a whole hull with no holes. Okay, that's the goal. That's my goal. You decide. So you know what I've done a rough estimation of the number of holes in the hull for all of the boats. And there's a couple of things that at least I think about. So Aluship, they've got 10 portholes, so 5 on each side. They've got this active stabilizers, so you've got the through hole fittings for the stabilizers, bow and stern thrusters, so you've got potentially 3 holes there to come through, and then the stern garage is obviously some kind of a hole. It's not going to actually go into your bilge, it looks like, but still, you know, it's obviously going to affect the seaworthiness of your vessel if you can't close that, can't close the garage. So in here you've got like 16 holes in your hull. Now the Van der Molen, again, this is one of the things I look at it, and you know, it's just interesting how people look at boats and where it's a value, and it's really a value system on what you value first. So whenever I've done expeditions or trips, I have 3 priorities in this order. First is to be safe, second is to have fun, and the third is to do the distance or achieve the goals of the expedition. So I'm putting safety above everything else. You know, I think with the proper risk management, preparation, there is no reason you should have a serious accident, be injured, lose your life, right? Now, I've been rescued before, dumb story, fuel filter, new boat, didn't know how it worked. So, you know, I got a rescue, a bit embarrassing. But the Coast Guard, they kind of loved it. I was in the UK. They had a good time doing a rescue. It was a pretty safe rescue. I learned a good lesson. I got towed in, which was kind of fun, I've got to say. Met some great people. So that was just poor preparation on my side. Embarrassed, learned the lesson, and we move on, right? Um, so theoretically, there should be no reasons why you should have any serious safety issues. Even in extreme weather. Now it can get out of control. You can be caught out. Don't get me wrong. Things do go wrong, but it's all about reducing that probability. So for me, like I said, one reason I like the Van der Molen, like I said, the classic design, the depth, that extra depth, the design of the hull, which gives it a lot of just hull stability, a nice motion, minimal hull opening. So here, I haven't put the drive shafts here, but it's got the bow thrusters. It's got like literally one hole in it. Now there's going to be other ones in there for cooling and other things. Don't get me wrong. This is very simplistic, but on a comparative basis, it's got one. The Altana's 10 again, the Nordhaven 10 to 14. So with the modern design, they're designed to be a bit more crew friendly, so you can enjoy it. So you're in your cabin, you got a bit of light coming through, you can look out the window, which is nice. Personally, I don't need that. I don't value that. When the cabin below, I want to be sleeping, or I'm not looking out the window. And it's such a small window anyhow that it really doesn't matter. Give me some good lighting in the cabin, and I'm okay. If I want sunshine or windows, I'll go up onto the main decks. So I would value having an intact hull above, sort of any of the modern features. And I think this again is a lot of difference in design. So you see the way boats are sold. So you can see a real shift over the last 30 years to like bigger windows, more luxurious interiors, all this sort of stuff, which is all great stuff. Don't get me wrong, but it depends what you're going to use it for again. So if you're on the North Sea, you're going to be hopping across in 12 hours. You can pick your weather windows. There's plenty of rescue nearby. You're in a pretty controlled environment to some degree. Things can go wrong, but help is at hand. But if you're in the middle of the Atlantic by yourself, it could take a while for rescue to come. You just don't want to take that risk. So fine. And the more remote areas you go, the less you want equipment that can potentially break down or you can have problems with, in my view. So again, this is the Van der Molen. As you can see, it's pretty classic design. Canoe stern, very deep. You've got the fixed stabilizer there, which do help with your roll a lot. And look, compared to the modern hull, there's really no holes in there. I could be wrong. Is that a porthole? I'm not sure. It could be a scupper. That looks like the deck. Could be wrong. So not to labour the point. And here you can see you've got porthole here for the crew. Another 4 here for your cabin. So this is going to be engine room back here. So you're going to be your master cabin, and then your double cabin on this side. You've got the bathrooms on the other side. And here you've got the portholes facing forward, which I'm not sure the utility of those necessarily. Again, preference for me, just give me steel. That'll be okay. You've got side windows, which is fine. But look, something to consider as a point of view. The other thing I like about the boat is the positioning. So these are 2 photos I used last time. So you've got the pilot saloon yacht, where the steering is a bit more forward, and here is similar design to what we've got for the Aluship, where your steering is a bit more towards the back of the boat. And you can just see here by the motion, that this part of the boat doesn't move much. In fact, in terms of your pitch is when your nose goes up and down and your back goes up and down. This is more or less on the pivot point of the pitch. Where here you can see the pitch is probably sort of near this porthole, in the saloon, and so here you're going to be moving more up and down because you're more forward, right? Have you ever watched any videos on YouTube of people being right at the front of the boat in strong weather? That can really get some turning moment and throw you around, like literally throw you up in the air or drop below you. and it can be very dangerous being in the front of the boat in very rough weather. I think there's actually a N63 or N62 video where they have that, somebody on the foredeck in rough weather, and they do get knocked around a bit. So, you know, in terms of the Aluship, coming back to the Aluship, this should be quite comfortable in rough weather because all of your living space is behind. If you're the crew, okay, that's different. You're the crew, I guess, not the owner. You've got to go forward in any weather to get to your cabins, and you know, here you are getting, you know, moved around a bit. So in terms of motion, and again, look, if there's interest and people keep watching, I'll improve these. Got a few ideas, but just in terms of motion, like what are some of the things that affect motion? So displacement, obviously, you know, the bigger displacement, the more stable you're going to be, or the less the ocean is going to move you around. It's important. So, you know, that initial, what do you call it, inertia moment, or that inertia is a lot higher, so it's harder to move around. So this is an 85-ton boat. The Van der Molen's 99. Again, one of the reasons I like it. Versus 42 and 66, right? So the Aluship is really, I mean, Nordhaven's a smaller boat, right? But 85 tons, you know, is pretty serious sized boat. And there's a ratio used in yacht design to look at displacement category. Now I've taken this from a book. So 172 is the ratio, and it's not as simple as just your displacement over the length. There is a cube involved there. But 172, which would put it in a light displacement category. 209 is like a medium light. The Altena is 227, which is a medium light. And then the Nordhaven 176, which is a light. So, you know, again, this is the other thing to remember about boats. You can't just look at a single number. Everything is in a ratio. So, you know, just because it's long doesn't necessarily mean, you know, it's probably going to be safer or whatever. But, you know, you need to look at the displacement as well, and you look at the ratio of the two. So there's something I think I'll go into in another video. Just look at some of these key ratios when you're buying a boat, which are really, you know, in some ways I think this is the core of when you're getting a boat. You really need to understand some of the basics around the design and how that affects how the boat behaves, performs, like I said, how safe it's going to be, how comfortable it's going to be. You know, really, it's a really important thing. You know, your whole the positioning of the weight on board, etc., etc. These are like the fundamentals, right? If that's wrong, it can never be fixed. Okay, so if it's just, you know, like I said today, my really only criticism of the boat is I don't like the interior. But look, you can change the color of the carpet. That's easy job, right? Cabins, make them bigger, smaller, etc. But your whole design, you know, that's really fundamental. And if you're spending $2 million, well, hopefully if you're buying a boat like this, you've got some experience. But, you know, there's always the first time you got a 24-meter yacht. Yeah, like I said, you may want to go crew, get some experience. You know, with this boat even, make them an offer. Say, hey, can I lease it for 3 months and, you know, go spend 3 months going to the Caribbean and back, see if you like the boat. You know, it's income for them. You get to try it out, you know, and maybe do a deal where you get that money back on taken off the purchase price if you buy it, like a lease to buy kind of option. You know, and we won't go into the whole commercial negotiations here, but when you get into the negotiations, you know, there's a lot of options you can come up with to make it attractive for both sides, right? So just to really de-risk for yourself, and make it attractive for the other person too. So, you know, this whole point about motion, etc., like I said, coming back, so this is core fundamental. And I, you know, like I said, if you guys are interested, let me know. I'll try and improve some of the information, how it's displayed, and maybe do some videos on explaining some of the concepts there. Right. So, yeah, so it's interesting then. So this one at 85 tons, it's actually in the light category, okay? With Van der Molen's a bit heavier, and this displacement category, so this goes up to about 400 or 500. So I imagine like an oil tanker would be in the 400 or 500, because, you know, our pleasure yachts are full of air, right? There's really not carrying much. Carrying a few people, a few suitcases, a couple of dinghies, some fuel, but it's otherwise air, living space inside. Whether you've got a bulk carrier, a liquid carrier, whatever it is, that's chock a block below the decks full. So that's going to play a big role. So I'd be surprised to ever get a heavy displacement boat in the leisure categories. In some of the older sailing yachts, you do, with deep keel, heavy steel or wood build, with internal ballast, you get some 350, 400, and they're like just rock solid, really nice. So again, this is something really to consider. So with the light category, you probably need the active stabilizers to keep you comfortable at sea. So to put the active stabilizers into a different light is it always going to be better than not having them? I would say the answer is yes. But how much are they compensating for maybe flaws in the design? That would be the question. And what would it be like without it? Is it going to be comfortable in the boat without it? But you turn the active stabilizers on and then it's like super comfortable, or if you turn them off, it's just like really uncomfortable. You spend 3 weeks on the boat being thrown around and it's just a really unpleasant trip. So I think that's a good test, what you want. It's always going to be better. They're brilliant, don't get me wrong, but what is the design like without it? And that really just comes down to good seaworthy design, a boat that's safe, that's got good motion, without any mechanical help. Just something to really, really think about. So the pitch here, so again, that's coming back to the previous pictures about the position on the boat. Aluship's got a nice position, probably on the pivot point. The Nordhaven has too. The Altena and the Van der Molen, it's more forward, it's the front of the boat. So potentially you've got more movement on the boat as well. Maybe compensated by the displacement category, maybe not. And the whole design, again, you'd have to take it out in some rough weather and see how comfortable it was. So natural roll, I can't remember what I was actually doing here. So I think what I was saying here is it got some like fixed stabilizers. It does, just basically welded strips onto the hull. And same here for the Van der Molen. Active compensation, it does. Okay, this is, I've really screwed up this slide, I'm sorry guys. In a winter, I think just from the basic of the hull, I would go the Van der Molen probably. But second place would be the Aluship. I think it's going to be comfortable, and I'm not sure I'm doing anything else other than just showing my bias here. But what I'm trying to do is to show you the assumptions behind my bias, so you can not listen to a guy who just wants to tell you what he likes, but you can apply the same logic to your decisions. And like I said, before about your values, like I've got mine. It took me a long time to work that out. Be safe, have fun, do the distance, right? And that's it. And I will always prioritize safety above fun and above actually completing the trip. But if you have the safety, you know what? You're probably going to complete the trip. And if you're safe and having fun, yeah, you're probably going to complete the trip anyhow. So that's mine. But, it's not about listening to somebody else's advice. It's about internalizing it. If you've got the experience, I'm sure if you haven't done it already, you could sit down in 5 minutes and prioritize your values. If you're new to boats or interested or want to get into boats, it's something that you will develop over time with enough experience. Right. Oh, the environment, my God, this is terrible. I didn't even update this slide. So listen, I've got these categories. If you've got more, let me know, because this is one where I haven't really spent a lot of time on. So lounging, so how comfortable it is when you're just relaxing, okay? I put this as medium. It just doesn't look the most comfortable boat. It's got a nice L-shaped lounge. And I don't know about you, it's quite good to have your feet up and be able to lounge out on the boat, but on that L-shaped lounge, one person can do it, not two. This is quite low, this one. It doesn't have a lounge. It's got a couple of seats, upright chairs, so you could change that. It's not expensive. This one here, it's not bad actually. That interior is quite nice, and it's got the pilot seat above it. And again, for the Aluship, in upstairs, you've got a seat behind it, which is quite nice. So you know it's okay. The lounge is okay, and I think you got the space there. I think you could improve it just by some different layout. Privacy is pretty good. You've got your own cabins. You've got like different areas, the steering downstairs. You don't have to. You got the crew cabins. You don't have to be on top of each other all the time. So that's pretty good. Climate. I didn't even review it, but boat this age is going to have heating and cooling. I'm pretty sure. The outdoor here, I'm going to go with the same feedback as I had for the Vandermolen. Is it's got large spaces outside, and like I said, could probably be made more comfortable. At the moment, you just look, especially upstairs, you got this large space. It's great to have that space, but what are you going to do with it? Is it a usable space? And at the moment, it doesn't really look like it. And then we didn't really get a good look at the rear deck. You got space there, but you know, how are you going to use that space? A lot of people use it for fishing or different things like that when you're going, or when you're in dock in nice weather. You've got sun out, use that as a dining area, which a lot of people do. But excuse me. So I think if you were to buy it, you want to spend some time thinking about how you could maximize the use of space. And the cabins, I think this is good to very good. The master cabin's great. Like I said, you've got the island bed, you can get all around it. You've got lots of storage, hanging drawers, cupboards, large bathroom for main cabin. The second cabin is fine, a little bit tight, but it's kind of what you expect. I'm sure you could rearrange it. You may not get a double bed in there, or you might, who knows. But like I said, if you don't want the garage, you could definitely add in more cabins. But the cabins I think were very well laid out and comfortable, like I said. So reliability and redundancy. So again, this comes down to, well, two things. How reliable is it? Is it going to break down or not? And is there any redundancy if it does break down? So that's really what I'm trying to affect. So, the Aluship has dual engines, which is good. So, if one goes out, the other one is there. Maybe just want to check your fuel setup, that you maybe want like a different polishing system for both, so you don't want to feed it all off the same tank. So if you've got fuel issues in one, it may not necessarily be in the other. It could be because you get contaminated fuel. You're probably putting in both tanks, but fine. It's just another, again, one of these risk management things. But you got two engines, so one breaks, you got a backup, so that's good. Like I said, the Vandermolen single engine, no wing engine. So if that one goes down, well, hey, you're floating. Bit of steel floating in the ocean. And the Nordhaven, like I said, this is my favorite, single engine with a wing engine. So that's pretty good layout. So where this one obviously goes in well is the age, 2014. So I'm pretty sure the engines have pretty low hours. I don't know the hours, but if they've got a few hundred hours, I think you'd be lucky. Whereas this, this is old 1965 original engine. Yeah, I'm sure it's pretty reliable, but you're going to have more chance of something going wrong with an older engine, because you just never really know what's going on inside the engine, what's going to break. It's just one of those things. And if it does go kaput when you're in the ocean for such an old engine, chances are that well, it's not always the case, but there is a chance you may not be able to repair it. Nordhaven, this is 1997. The hours, we couldn't get the hours off that one too. This done a bit of work, so I think that could be up around the 5,000-6,000 hours. So as a ballpark figure, depending again on the engine, somewhere between 10 to 15,000 hours. You want to do a full rebuild of the engine, so that one would probably be okay, the Nordhaven. But yeah, I mean the Aluship here, I think this is definitely the winner. I'm not sure why I didn't fill in that thing, but the winner here for reliability redundancy would be the Aluship, largely given the age of the engines and the low hours of the engine, and also because it's got that redundancy. So just a bit of evaluation. So this is a great cross-ocean boat, global traveler, good range. I think you have pretty comfortable motion, pretty comfortable boat, like 24 meters. You got a lot of storage in there. You got that garage there, which you could use for a whole bunch of reasons. You even have one cabin. If you're a diver, you could have a compressor room. There's a lot you can do there. It's new, reliable, redundancy systems in place. Security, so I mean, you're going to be safe on that boat, given the size of the boat, the design. I think you're going to be pretty safe. And the good thing about this one, it's going to be pretty low maintenance. And for the recommendations, if you were to buy it, I'll get onto that in a sec. Oh, and here we are on the slide. So we come to the conclusion after this time. So what would I do? Look, if you're interested in this boat, the first one would be negotiate the price. So every $100,000 you can knock off the price. That's money you can put back into, just do the little things you may want to do to personalize it to your taste. Look, you may not want to. The boat looks turnkey condition. I'm pretty sure you could buy it and probably wouldn't have to do anything. If it was me, I would upgrade the interior a bit, just make it a bit more comfortable, look a bit less institutional. I don't think it'd be a huge job, you know, like the leather lounge, a bit of decoration, maybe change some of the furniture, carpet, you know, so 10, 20,000 maybe you could do it. And a minor refit. So it is a 6-year-old boat. Go through all the systems, you know, full inspection of all the systems, make sure everything works. Just check to see if there's any corrosion or I don't know, just any problems. Service the boat, and then selective upgrades. So check the technology on board and just see if there's anything nice that's on the market there that'll be useful for you. Or just maybe you want to look at the engineering of the engine room, you want to change some things to your taste, you know, that's all good too. But, you know, again, if you bought it, I think you could pretty much use it without doing anything particularly, maybe just a bit of servicing, to, you know, these kind of minor things. So if you were to put any more than 100,000 into this, I would be surprised. It's not really big jobs. It's just really going to be get an electrician on board, technician, engineer on board, you know, maybe swapping out some equipment you may want to use. So the cost of the equipment with the labor is not going to be too much, you know. So there you go. That's pretty much it for today. I hope that was useful and made some sense. Yeah, like I said, it's an interesting boat. Yeah, just catch this. The reason it didn't sell, the only comment I've got firsthand, like speaking to a broker who's friends with Van der Vliet, they do business together, co-market boats sometimes. Just said up close, the quality is not so good. That was what the finishing was not so good. That was the feedback I got. Now, unfortunately, I don't know what that means. It could be the sort of the fit and finish of the interior. You know, because again, this is the other thing when you're buying a boat, you really got to get into it to see it, because photos can be really misleading in terms of the interior space, in terms of the condition of the wood, for example, or the furniture, you know, different things. So, you know, you really need to get on board to see it. But he just said up close, it's just the workmanship is a bit poor. So I don't know exactly what that means. But I think if it's been around for 6 years, it's been on the water for 6 years, if there have been any major defects in the hull, the way it's been put together, etc., you might start to see that come through. So if the paint's been put on improperly, maybe start to see it bubbling up. You may start to see some rust streaks coming through for maybe a bad weld or just a exposed part of the hull, etc. So, you know, in some ways, buying a boat a few years old can be actually better than buying a new boat. Let the first owner get all the problems sorted, and then, you know, you can benefit from that as well. So yeah, look, you know, I think it's a really interesting choice. I would love to know why it hasn't been sold. It seemed, you know, like again, for 4 million, you've got a lot of choices. For 2 million in this price range, for this age boat, it really does get very competitive. So look, hopefully there's a new owner out there somewhere, and I hope the Van der Vliet guys do get to sell it, and the owners get to sell it, because, you know, boats should be on the water being used, not like sitting in a yard waiting to be sold. And this is a boat that I think a lot of people would really, really enjoy. You know, who knows, maybe we should crowdfund it and you know, buy a week a month, we can do a timeshare. So that would be a very cool idea. So okay guys, thank you very much for listening. Look forward to your comments. Hopefully people watch this, let us know your comments. And for the guy who requested the review, let me know what you think. Do you agree? You made some very succinct and very clear points. The last comment, which I really appreciated, which I totally agree with and totally accept. So I'd be very much interested to get your views on this boat too. Okay, guys, have a good night. Bye. If we can work out how to turn it off. This is embarrassing, isn't it?